What's going on, everybody? Cole here with Alliance Wake Test Drive, and today we've got a special treat for you. We've got a brand new company bringing in a brand new boat. It's Kyma, and they've got the K7 Supercharged. Now I know this looks like your typical inboard wake boat, but that is not the case. This thing is jet powered with an Inmar V8 engine, which is something we're all familiar with. So you know you're gonna get the reliability, the torque, the performance, all those awesome things that you're familiar with are in this Kyma K7. Now I know what you're thinking, why would I want a jet drive boat? Well, that really depends on you and what your needs are. For a lot of people who are running in shallow waters, it makes it really easy to get around and you're not worried about banging up your prop or any of those things underneath there. Also, the maneuverability. If you have to move that boat in real tight quarters, this makes it really easy. You can be spinning 360s in the same spot. That makes it real easy to maneuver around docks and any of those situations that call for it. Another real nice thing is when you're backing off that trailer, you can reverse backwards. Say you're in a tight area, you can reverse straight backwards. You can't do that with an inboard boat. It's either pulling to the right or pulling to the left. There's always a certain way you got to pull in to be able to pull off that parking. Another thing you could think about is if you know how to drive a jet ski, you know how to drive this boat, because the way that it maneuvers is typically the same. Now the real question is, does it really have the water sports capability of an inboard boat? And I'm gonna say yes. We'll dive deeper into that, but the surf wave, we were able to wakeboard. I mean, we even tubed. There's a lot of good things that you can do behind this boat, and we're excited to break that down. But before we do all that, we're gonna jump into some specs and break this boat down for you. Now, the Kyma K7 Supercharged starts with a dry weight of 5,000 pounds. Now, we do have ballast on this boat, and that is gonna add an extra 3,000 pounds to the Kyma K7. The engine in this boat is an Inmar 6.2 liter V8 Raptor engine, giving you all the torque and power you're gonna need. That Inmar engine is accompanied by an American turbine jet pump. Now the overall length is 23 feet, followed by the beam, which is 8 feet and 6 inches. The draft is 15.5 inches, and the fuel capacity of this boat is 80 gallons. Now, as far as how many people you can fit up to 12 people on the Kyma K7. This boat also does come with underwater exhaust, making it quiet in that boat, so it's not gonna be as loud as the other jet boats out there. Now, speaking on the quietness of the boat, we did take an SPL meter out there with us, and we were able to get some numbers that impressed us compared to other jet boats that are typically on the higher and more loud side of things. Sitting and riding in the boat, I could not tell a difference between any other inboard boat I've been in and this boat. So I think if you're worried about noise, it's no issue. Now that you guys have heard the specs and got a little bit of an overview, let's jump in the boat and get to the walkthrough. All right, so now we're gonna kick off this walkthrough of the Kyma K7. First things first, we're gonna open up this hatch in the front. This is where we're gonna have a ladder option and a anchor. Ladder comes off the front so you can climb in there if you're not coming out the back. Also, we have some cup holders, and they're also rod holders. You know, you kind of have the versatility with this boat. It's not just a cup holder, it has multiple functions, so that's pretty sweet. Now, moving on with the rest of the nose here, it is big and spacious for this 23-foot boat. It is like a typical wakeboard boat, so you're kind of familiar there, but what's really unique with this is I think the cushion layout is pretty cool. You have 2 extra cushions. You can put both of them here, have a full lounge scenario going on. You can take one of them, this front one, and put it as a backrest, so you just have a bigger nose to sit in, fit more people. I think where this shines up here is the storage, right? All these cushions underneath have storage, and these 2 back cushions right here flip up, and you have some really big storage in there. We've got some handles up here to grab. We've got wet sound speakers throughout the whole boat, but we've got 2 up here. Cup holders that also will act as fishing pole holders, so you kind of have versatility with those, which I think is really unique. And then we also have some gator step going on throughout the whole thing, and it's custom cut for Kyma, which I think is really cool. I don't know if you can tell, but the windshield's actually pretty big. It may not look at first glance, but it is, and I actually really enjoyed that riding in the boat. It protected you from the wind more. I didn't feel like I had to bolster up all the time to kind of get above or below that windshield level. Sometimes I feel like I'm like looking at the top of the windshield. So that was actually really nice. You're nice and covered. And we have some pockets right here. You can store sunscreen, your phone, keys, wallet, just some random things can go in there. I think that's a nice little add-on that they have going on. So now we're gonna move to the passenger station over here. We've got two glove boxes going on. One's kind of a lift up and one's kind of more of a locking scenario. Those you can fit whatever you need that you want in your glove box, registration, all those good things. We also have a wireless charging phone slot here. So you can put your phone in there and it stays out of the sun so it's not getting roasted while charging, which is, that phone's gonna get hot, you don't want that. The chair or the seat, whatever you wanna call it, because this thing is pretty sweet and it has a lot of maneuverability. You can rotate this thing full 180 and you can sit there and watch the rider when they're riding, and then when you're cruising, you can turn it back forward. It does move back and forth, and it also reclines back. So if you wanna take a nap, that's also an option. So underneath here, we also have a wet sound speaker. We've got a couple more cup holders, kind of rounding off the passenger seat. Now we're gonna look over at the captain's helm, and this thing looks pretty large and in charge. I like the screen, I like the seat because it also maneuvers just like the passenger side, so you have versatility with that and getting yourself really comfortable. So now that we're sitting in the helm, I'm in the captain's chair. I do like these armrests. They're articulating up and down, so you can have that option. Just looking at this, looks real nice and it's clean. Nothing too crazy. I like the steering wheel. I like the design of the steering wheel, and it feels quality, which I think is a good thing. We've got a volume knob, controls your music, play, skip, all that stuff. It feels really nice and tactile. We have a phone holder / wireless charger, so you can pop your phone in there. Also right here, we have an off and on button and all the controls for the Seakeeper. The Seakeeper is really cool technology. We all know that they help keep the boat nice and stable, but for the Kyma K7, they've integrated it into the back of the boat to be able to manipulate that wave, to get it out of the hole quicker, to control the imbalances in the boat if the boat's leaning one way. It does a lot for the boat and the way the boat drives. So that is a really unique, fun option that they've added in to the Kyma K7. Now we're gonna talk about the steering wheel. The steering wheel does manipulate up and down. It's got good leather and a good design, but what's cool is it's Kyma zero turn. It's got drive-by-wire, which means that it is electronic. So it always knows when it's at zero, which I think is a really unique technology that they're starting to add into boats, and Kyma's one of the first to be doing that. Up top here, we do have another glove box. Lift up that, put in whatever you need, sunglasses, phone, wallet, keys, whatever you need. Moving over to the screen here, we do have some buttons on the side. I do love buttons. I love to be able to know when it's off or on, real quick access to your horn, your docking lights, your speed control, your blower, your bilge. All those buttons are right here at your fingertips, really quick to access. And then below all that, we have the engine start-stop button to turn your boat off and on. Now getting into the screen, the first thing I noticed is that it's a pretty good sized screen, but it also isn't getting a lot of glare from the sun. So whatever material that they've used, they really thought about it being in the sun a lot. So you're able to see all your stuff at all times, which I think is a big plus. Now going into the screen, you've got your typical vitals, you know, your temperature, your depth, your fuel, all those good things. But what this thing does is it has options for what you're gonna be doing. Now the first option is gonna be touring, right? So if you're cruising around the lake, you're gonna hit that, it's gonna empty all the ballast automatically, set the speeds, and you're gonna be off cruising around the lake. The next thing is gonna be surf. As soon as you hit that surf button, it's gonna fill the ballast up and get the surf settings dialed in for you. Obviously, wake would do the same thing, except for wakeboarding. And then next to that, which is pretty unique, I don't think I've ever seen this on a boat, is the tube option. You know, you got the kids out there, you're gonna go tubing, so you hit that tube button and it'll set the boat up for tubing. Now within that, you have three options. You have chill, normal, and intense. So depending on who's out there, from kids all the way up to snotty teenagers, you can really send them however you want. Now next to that is ski. So you can obviously ski on this boat. So that is the 5th option. I like how this boat has the ability to manipulate all those things to how you want them to be set up. So it's very customizable screen, which I think is a big plus. Now moving over here to the throttle control. This isn't like a typical jet boat throttle where it's maybe you have 2 jets. We've got 1 single jet, 1 control. And what's really cool that I think separates it from any other jet boat is that it honestly feels kind of like an inboard. The way you're sitting here, everything feels like you're on an inboard boat, but it's a jet boat. And that's the same here with this throttle control. The way it interacts feels just like an inboard boat. So I think that's really cool how they were able to get that technology to be very familiar if you're coming from an inboard boat. But it's also an upgrade if you're coming from any other jet boat brand. Now, another thing about jet boats is you don't really have a true neutral. When you're in neutral on a jet, you're moving. You're definitely still moving in a certain direction or whichever way the wheels turned. That's not the case with Kyma. Kyma really does have a true neutral to where you can have it on and you're not gonna be moving. Now, one of the questions I had as soon as I got on the boat was, does it have bow thrusters? Because in the moment, we were turning around, but the boat was just spinning in a perfect circle almost. And that kind of blew my mind. So that's what's really cool about the Kyma K7 is that you can do a 180 without moving forward or backwards. So the control of parking and all these things is pretty easy, which I think is a cool separation from the inboard boats. Also, when backing up, you can directly back straight up. It doesn't back up to one side. So there's definitely some advantages to having a jet boat when it comes to maneuverability. Now below the throttle, we do have a few more buttons. These buttons are on a different circuit than the screen. So if for some reason the screen turned off on you, you still have these controls to work with. We can tower up and down from here, horn, blower, bilge, navigation lights. So all those things are right here below the throttle. So just more buttons for a lot more easy access. Now below my feet here, we have 2 more speakers from Wet Sound, and one of those is a subwoofer. So you definitely got some good kick going on right at your feet and in your face. Another thing I quickly noticed was the windshield shape. Now the windshield cuts off here, so you're able to see the rider, communicate with the rider real well off the side of the boat. But I don't feel like I'm getting a lot of wind when I'm running. So I really do like this design. It's nice and open. Nice place to keep your arm if you want to keep your arm up here. It's got the gator step up here as well. So pretty cool, unique design going on for Kyma. So let's chat on the tower. Now Kyma's tower, the first thing I noticed was the clearance. I'm 6'2", and I didn't hit my head on a single speaker all day, and that was awesome. So I will say they definitely thought about the layout of the boat combined with the tower to where I'm all the way on the left side, I'm not gonna hit my head on anything. So the way they thought about that, I really appreciate that, because that is a big struggle that I have on wake boats is I'm always banging my head. The tower itself does articulate up and down, and when it does come down, what I think is cool is you can kind of cruise with it down because the bimini itself articulates. So now you can cruise with the tower down, protect yourself a little more from the sun, obviously get underneath bridges and all that stuff really easily. On the tower, we do have the PTM board racks going on, so you can hold up to 4 boards, which is a nice feature. Also, we have tow points underneath those, and on those we can put GoPros. They have a ball mount, so you can get the ball mount for your GoPro and attach that if that's what you want to do. Another cool thing is these are modular. So if you wanted to, you could put more board racks in those spots to give you more storage. Now we do have wet sounds throughout the whole boat, and that is what's up here. We have the Rev 10s going on the tower. These things are loud and proud. So those are a real nice addition to have to your boat. As far as the bimini goes itself, I feel pretty covered. I will say that it doesn't cover the whole front of the driver's area, so you might get a little sun. But if you're in the back here, you're completely covered. But it is still a pretty big bimini, which I do like that. One thing I will say is your tow point is underneath, so it's real easy to get to. You're not having to unzip the bimini and throw the rope over and try to get it up there. Your tow point's right here. So what you see up top, that is not where you're gonna wanna put the rope. So do not put the rope there. That is just for the light. Overall though, the tower's got a nice, simple, clean look to it. Nothing too crazy, nothing too gaudy. I like it. Nice and simple and sweet, gets the job done. Now we're gonna drop down from the tower. We're gonna look at the seating and everything going on in the middle here. First thing, we do have heaters. So we've got 2 heater tubes that come out. You can tuck those underneath your clothes and warm up if you're a little chilly in the mornings. Also, the seating, just like the seating in the front, has storage. So we've got big storage options underneath these seats. You can fit coolers, you know, all that kind of good stuff. We also have the trash can, which is right here underneath the footstep. That's real easy to get to. And we also have some wet sound speakers here as well to add to that music environment. One thing that I think is really unique that Kyma has done is typically when you throw your cover on, you gotta turn that battery off, and a lot of us has forgot to turn our battery off. You gotta climb in all the way back underneath to the middle or front of the boat. Kyma's thought about that, and they put it into the seat right here. So you flip this seat down, turn your switch off and on, so even if you needed to come in, you could reach in from the side and turn that bad boy off. So I think that's a really unique design. I haven't seen that anywhere. I like that. So now we're gonna move toward the back. I do like the way it's cut out. It makes it real easy to maneuver back and forth. You've got the gator steps so you're not slipping out. I do like the way it is laid out. Now, as far as the lounging goes, we've got these lounge seats and they do have articulating seat backs. So these lift up, boom, you're lounging, hanging out, people are swimming in the water. Push it forward, lay it back down. So that is cool to have that option. Underneath these lounge seats, it is a butterfly style opening. So you've got storage underneath these. You can store, you know, a tube, you can store jackets, any kind of that wet stuff. You can store those back there. So that's real easy to get to. Now we're all the way at the back here, and there's still plenty to get into. We have more storage, of course. Underneath here is a storage locker that opens up. We've got some skis in there. You know, that is nice and long, so if you have some long things, those fit nicely in there. Besides that, we obviously have more GoPro mounts, which I think is pretty sweet, so you can film yourself surfing if you don't have anyone else to film you. And then we do have more cup holders that are also fishing rod holders. So versatility with the Kyma K7, pretty sweet. We also have the volume control here, just like at the Helm. So that's pretty nice to be able to control that while you're back here. And then the platform itself, it is not an overly big platform, but it's not a small platform. I think it's just the right size. And what's really unique is this is a jet boat, but the access to the jet, if you suck up a rope or anything like that, it's got a hatch here. You can lift that up, get in there, and take care of any situation that you need to. I think Kyma's done really good at thinking through the problems before they even happen. And that seems to be the case with this hatch. Like throughout the boat, it does have gator steps, same as on this platform. Also on the platform, we do have 2 slots here in the back that make it easy to hook into if you're gonna hoist the boat up. So I think they're really thinking through a lot of things on this Kyma K7. Now, as we wrap up this walkthrough, one thing I do want to say is, as we've gone through it, I've noticed that Kyma has really thought of a lot of things that a boat owner is going to need or want. So you can tell that these boats are being made by people who are on the water and have experienced the things that you're going to be experiencing when you're out on the lake. Now, the million-dollar question is, how does this thing perform on the water sports side of things? And let's start with the wave. And I think that's where this thing really does shine. We filled up the sacks, 3,000 pounds, plenty of weight to sink that boat in. Now, what Kyma has done, they've made it to where that jet isn't really gonna interfere with the wave. And that, alongside the Seakeeper, shaped up a beautiful wave. This wave was long, had plenty of push, was steep. I was able to do everything I wanted to. I have 0 complaints, and honestly, I was really surprised because every other jet boat I've ever been on did not have a wave like this. Now with that being said, I truly believe that this Kyma K7's wave competes and hangs with any other typical wakeboard boat out there. Now we're gonna look at the wakeboard side of things here, and we're gonna look at the wake. Just to give you an idea of what we were running, we were at 65 feet behind the boat, running about 22 miles an hour. Now I will say this probably isn't the most advanced wake. It's not the biggest, baddest thing out there, but it definitely produces a wake that you can bust some tricks out on. And I will say I've been behind other jet boats and they do not perform at all when it comes to a wakeboard wake, so it was refreshing to be able to get behind this boat and have something to ride. Now I will say with a little bit of tweaking, I think you can really get that wake dialed in to a level that you're gonna be happy with. But I think what it really comes down to is that this boat performs really well with the surf wave. And I think that was a big focus and they succeeded on that. But that's not to say that there isn't a good wakeboard wake to get behind and have some fun with you and your family. Now on most jet boats, you do have a pretty big rooster tail. And what Kyma has done, they've angled their jets a little bit more down to where you're not gonna get a big rooster tail. So to test that, we decided to hit the tube option on the screen and get out there on the tube and just to confirm, and I had a blast. There was no water all up in my face. It was a nice fun ride, just like any other boat that you're gonna go tubing behind, but you don't have that problem with it, every other jet boat of getting water thrown up in your face. Another option is to ski, and we didn't do that today, but that is there. You can custom set that up however you want. It's just, again, a touch of a button and you're ready to rip. So that is gonna wrap it up for us today. I had a blast behind the Kyma K7 Supercharged, and I'm not gonna lie, coming into this thing, I was a little questionable on the performance side of things, being it is a jet boat, but that is not the case, man. This thing performed, the surf wave, I can't believe that it was able to make such a good wave. So shout out to Kyma for making a really cool, innovative boat that is new for the water sports industry. If you guys want to know more about these boats, maybe possibly get one, go ahead and head over to kymaboats.com and dive into that. Those guys are really cool, really helpful. So go ahead and check that out. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any reviews coming out in the future. Thanks for coming. See you guys on the next one.